Hello everyone! In this video, I'm going to show you how to knit the loop stitch. I recently made a couple washcloths with this stitch, and I like to think of them as face washcloths because the loops provide a fabric that feels so nice and soft and has sort of an exfoliating effect when you rub it on your face, and the back side of the work ends up having these nice sort of knit ridges, and it just feels really nice. And these I've knit up with 100% cotton yarn, and I've provided all the details of the materials as well as the pattern in the description field below. So if you just click on the little drop down, you'll get all of that. And the two samples that I have here, I just wanted to show you the difference. This one is knit up. I have not washed it or used it yet, and you'll notice the loops are pretty big. This one I've knit up and I have washed it and used it, and the loops tend to shrink a little bit. So even though right now the loops may look big when you first knit it, they shrink down a little bit. And I added two different kinds of little loops at the end if you want to hang these. So wonderful project to knit. It knits up very quickly. I think it makes for a great gift item for if you're buying somebody some fancy soap, or if you make your own soap even and want to gift somebody something. I think you can make one of these and throw those in there as a gift along with that soap. So I just absolutely love this, and it's just nice and squishy, and the loops are really easy to make. They're not that difficult. I would still put it at an intermediate or advanced beginner level just because there's a little bit of complexity there, but it's really not that bad. So let me show you how to do that. Now I'm just going to demonstrate the one color. For the two color, you would just be alternating colors, and I'll show really quickly, but I'll also provide a link to my video on how to change yarns. So if you want to try different colors, you can do that. And let me pick up my needles here. Okay, so it doesn't matter the number of stitches. You can cast on any number of stitches. I've provided in the description field, I've provided the pattern for this particular fabric. I used the Lily Sugar and Cream yarn, cotton yarn, and for the yellow I used the yellow color, and then for the orange I used the hot green and hot orange colors. So this is 100% cotton yarn, 4-ply, and I have just cast on 10 stitches here. Now it's only a 2-row repeat, so the first row is just knit. So cast on the number of stitches that you want. If you follow my pattern for the washcloth, it's 24 stitches. And so the first row is just a regular knit. And I'm using double pointed needles just for this demonstration. You don't need double pointed needles to knit the loop stitch. And I'm actually going to show you two different ways of making the loop stitch. Okay, so the first row is just a knit. In the next row, I'm going to show you the first technique to knit the loop stitch the way I knit it. And so you're going to make a loop stitch in every one of these stitches. So you insert your needle as if to knit. You take your yarn around, but you don't bring it through. You take the yarn, the working yarn, and you loop it around your index finger like so, and then loop it around one more time through that right hand needle. Okay, now with that yarn held in the index finger, you're going to pull it through, and you'll notice that there's 2 loops on here on this right needle, and that's fine. You're now going to leave your index finger in that loop. You're now going to drop off that stitch. Then you're going to take your left hand needle, insert it in the front loops of those 2 stitches, and knit. So what we're doing here is essentially knitting through the back loop. Okay, and then you drop off those stitches, and you can tighten this, and you formed your loop. So in this first way that I'm showing you, your loops are forming on the back side of your work. Okay, we'll see that a few more times. Insert as if to knit, bring the yarn through, but don't knit it. Take the yarn, wrap it around the index finger, and then wrap it once more through the right hand needle. Then, with the yarn still on the index finger, pull it through. At this point, drop this stitch off. Leave the loop in the index finger just so that you can keep that tension. And then take your left needle, insert it through both these loops. So it's like you're knitting into the back loop and knit. And when you're done, you can just tug on this to make this a little bit tighter. Now by inserting, leaving your index finger inserted in there, you ensure that your loops stay at the same length throughout the row. So you're just going to keep doing that. And I know it seems tricky right now, but with a little bit of practice, this will become second nature. You'll be able to do this no problem and very smoothly. There. So I'm just going to finish this whole row, making a loop in every single stitch. Now, if you feel that's a little too dense, you can make a loop in every alternate stitch. So make a loop in the first stitch, knit the next stitch, and then make a loop in the third stitch, knit the next stitch, and so on. So you see how once you do it, it goes by really easily. And the reason why you have to do this thing where you reinsert back in, you're essentially tying or securing this loop. It's almost like making a knot around that loop. Make sure you don't split the yarn. And there. You've just completed your row with the loops. Okay? And then that's all you're doing. Turn your work, knit the next row, make loops, knit, make loops. Okay? Now I'm going to show you the second way of making loops. And you noticed in the previous row when we made the loops get made on the back side of the work as you're making the loops. In this second way that I'm going to show you, it's going to make the loops on the front side of the work. And it won't matter in this pattern, you can still make the loops. If you prefer the second way that I'm going to show you, you can still make the loops that way, and you'll just get loops on the front side, and you'll still just do row 1 will be knit and row 2 will be loops, knit, loops, knit, loops. Okay, so in this technique you insert the needle as if to knit. You're going to bring the yarn over or bring the yarn through those 2 needles, and you're actually going to knit the stitch. Okay, then you're going to take this yarn and bring it to the front in between those 2 needles. You're going to wrap it around your thumb like that, and then you're going to bring it back through. Okay, and then you're going to knit into that stitch again. All right, and once you've done that, you're going to insert your needle into the first stitch on the right hand needle, like so, and bring it over the left stitch or the second stitch. All right, let me do that one more time. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to insert, knit, bring the yarn to the front, bring it around the thumb, bring it back, insert and knit, and then pass that first stitch over the second stitch. All right, so insert, knit, but don't throw the stitch away, don't drop the stitch, bring the yarn to the front, wrap around the thumb, put it back through those 2 stitches, then knit back into that stitch, at which point take your thumb off from the loop and then insert the left needle into that first stitch and bring it over the second stitch. So you'll notice the loops are forming in the front of the work rather than in the back. So whichever way you think works better for you, you can try that way. I like the other way because for me it's easier to wrap it around my index finger than it is for me to wrap it around my left thumb. But it depends. If that way works better for you, you can certainly try that. And that's it. That's all you're doing. throughout the row. You're just doing that, and then if you do want to try different colors, you can then, when you're at the end of your row, you can just take a new yarn and just start knitting with a new yarn. To start knitting with a new yarn, you're just going to take the yarn, just make a loop like that. You don't even need to tie a knot or anything. Just insert it and then start knitting. I would suggest changing the yarn at the end of the row. When you're changing the yarn, I would suggest changing it on the row that you just knit across, like I just did. And what you can also do is, after you've joined the yarn, you can take that tail end and just tie a loose knot at the end, just to keep the yarn in place, which you can take off later when you weave the ends. And that's it. Once you're done knitting your piece, you're going to bind off the stitches in just a regular bind off. And then with the leftover tail, you could take a crochet hook and make just a chain stitch and join it in here with a slip stitch. Or you could do a little bit more fancier loop where you make a chain and then come back around it with doing a single crochet throughout and then join it again. So I've provided links to those crochet stitches if you're not familiar with those or need a refresher. Or you could just bind it off and leave it, and you've got plenty of loops here to actually just use as a hook if you want to hook it onto something. So these are just small 6 by 6 inch washcloths. These are washable, these are machine washable. They're 100% cotton, so they work great. I would suggest using 100% cotton if you're using this for a face washcloth or a dishcloth. So I hope you give this one a try. And if you have any questions or suggestions for additional videos, please leave me a comment. If you like the video, click the like button. And thanks to all of you who have subscribed. And if you haven't, please subscribe to my channel, Knittycat's Knits. I'm going to try and post at least a couple videos every week for the rest of the year. That's my goal, so we'll see how I do. But I hope you like this one, and do give this one a try. It's a very fun project. I had a lot of fun with it. Thanks for watching, and happy knitting!